Well, I just want to say that the clutter of my office makes the clutter of your office look like a freaking
This office
Zen
is
master.
carefully curated clutter. Yours is like, throw that in there with the rest of the refuse and my husband.
Wow. No, mine is more like,
Um,
I'm going to need that. So why don't I keep it within arm's reach?
we're heading into the Psy, and this
Yes.
week in the Psy, we're going to analyze chickpea or garbanzo bean.
No, we're not.
What are you?
We've done this in the past. It's called Just the Facts, ma'am.
Just
And
the facts.
we're just
man.
going to do some facts.
Fax machines were technology that existed years ago. If I wanted to send Andy a script page, I would have needed a fax.
A fax machine or a telex.
Yes. That kind of fax, Andy?
No, why? It's facts about the year 2020, that don't suck. See what I'm doing? I'm putting a positive spin on one of the worst years in American history.
You take a fucking page out of Professor Andrew McElfish's book, kids.
And then the people won't know what happened on that page. Because you've taken a page out.
Waiting. Professor Andrew McElfish's book, kids. Professor.
Oh, not a real professor. Jesus Christ.
Well, I told you.
I had
kids,
one in the chamber, and you didn't even
like,
let me say it before saying not a real professor.
2021 is the year I stopped correcting everybody, and I let them think I am a real professor just to see where it goes.
No, this is 2021, first of all.
I think, yeah, you're right. Good point. All right. What was good about 2020? I dare you to find something.
Well, the first one is a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
That theater attendance due to the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic was down so much that popcorn kernel manufacturers had an enormous surplus. So now we have a strategic popcorn kernel reserve of more than a dozen giant silos in Iowa and other states in the Midwest. That is
silos that used to be filled with nuclear warheads, now filled with popcorn kernels.
And the residual uranium actually pops the kernels, and no, it doesn't. No, what I say,
Earl Butt's dream of a surplus of corn, American corn, has finally come to fruition, ladies and gentlemen. We now have more popcorn kernels than we know what to do with. Can they be turned into other things, Andy?
They can become popcorn generals if they apply themselves. I got nothing. This is like, it's Friday. All jokes must go.
All the dad jokes. All right. That's a good point. That's a good point about 2020.
But it kind of tells you, like,
negative.
Can you imagine people eat that much popcorn at the movie theater? This is not like over Redenbacher sticking them in those weird little bags and you just put them in the microwave.
If people eat that much popcorn, Andy, think of how many silos full of ass we could fill right now because of everyone's
I thought you would start with at least Mike and Ike's, but no, you went straight to the ass.
I always do. Ask my wife. But it's nobody could get together. If you can't make popcorn and go to the movies and eat popcorn, you damn Skippy ain't eating ass. So can you look up
is that your formula?
Figures? Yeah, figures on how
much. If I wanted to eat ass today, I know a movie theater will be involved.
What's another factoid from 2020 before we belabor?
But there's a great invention that will actually become a consumer invention pretty soon. At NASA, they created what is being nicknamed as the Iron Man glove.
Do tell. What is it for? Fisting? Because I want out if it's fisting, but if it's for heroics, I want in.
Okay. Well, it's not for fisting.
Woohoo.
By the way, nothing is for fisting, even a fist. So stop it.
There's always a time for fisting. That's my Waterloo commercial. There's always a time for fisting. Waterloo's like, what's that have to do with water? With Waterloo? Why don't you say it's always time for Waterloo? I'm like, what are you going to remember that? But they'll remember. Somebody going like, it's always time for fisting. Yes. I'm like, you know what? He's a marketing genius.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't get the name of the product right, though. So when I say genius, I say more of a confused genius.
He's a modern day Don Draper, in as much as, like, you know, he comes up with a somewhat clever idea, but he follows through because he goes to California all the time.
And he goes straight for the ass. So
Silos full of it, kids.
Yes. Well, it's a glove that you put on your hand, obviously.
Yes.
And it's powered, giving the person wearing it the gripping strength that is 15 times stronger than the grip strength you put into it. And it's really
just like all amazing technology is going to be used for masturbation.
Listen, the thought had crossed my mind that you might go there.
For sure. I
decided to put this on the list.
What's the gripping power on this motherfucker? Let me see if I can handle it. Ooh, turn it up. Ooh, pop. Woo. It was worth it.
So they use it now. It's to be used in outer space, like on the space station, to do things where, in those awkward gloves that you have, you need extra strength. And you know why? Because they're inflated in a spacesuit. The gloves are inflated. And so your fingers claw at the inside and don't really get to do very much good out there. And so you use tools for everything. Now with this, you'll have the strength inside that glove to use the glove and use it for things that you would normally do with your fingers. And you can take that sentence wherever you like.
Crush an enemy's throat, man, in battle and shit like that. What are you wearing? Why are you wearing an inflated suit?
Because you're in space.
Yeah. All right. So it's like third act of Moonraker, and you got to kick some ass. You James Bond, Jaws is coming at you with them teeth. You've got this fucking Iron Man power glove. You crossing the streams. Give Avengers meet the Bondiverse. We all win. All right. What else happened good in 2020?
That's it, a list of two. You think you know everything about sperm cells.
I don't.
So from the time of Leeuwenhoek, who was an early user of the microscope, people have thought that he described that sperm cells slither because he had them on a slide with another glass over it, and they had to wriggle under it. It turns out they corkscrew. So they go whooshing through the water like a corkscrew. Like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So it's not no whippy little tail.
The whippy tail is actually making them go in a corkscrew pattern.
So we only see the whippy tail on a flat slide.
Back and forth like this.
Back and forth. But really, that motherfucker is doing like haymakers.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we got to get there. We got to fuck it. If we don't, we die. How come if sperm feel that fucking motivated, like I will accomplish or die, what happens to us? We get here and we're like, that was enough. Could you imagine? All that corkscrewing in the tail don't mean shit when you're sliding down someone's gullet into their their fucking stomach acids. Now, how good are you? Good swimmers.
Well, to be
so smart with your corkscrews.
Just to be clear here,
that's what you get for leaving home, sperm.
Wow, they can't stay there. All right, now this one is I'm putting a silver lining on a dark fact here. Global climate change. It used to be called global warming, but they call it climate change now because every time it's cold on a day, people are like, oh, well, global warming, it's cold today. But last year they set a record in Siberia.
That's like the best place to be in Russia. Every Russian wants to go there. That's like the Malibu of Russia, baby. I go to Siberian coast.
It's not. It's very cold and terrible. And the gulags are there, which is, I forgot what the acronym stands for, but I always thought the gulag was like a Russian word, but it's actually like an acronym like...
oh, really? Like NASA?
NASA or Holmes for the Great Lakes.
I always thought the gulag was like a thick stew that they serve over there.
That's goulash, and that's in Hungary.
Do they serve goulash in the gulag? Because that'd be on brand.
I don't know if they really like, hey, what are you serving today? They're more like, hey, I wonder if I can catch a rat and actually eat something.
Is it that bad over there? Like they don't get three hots and a cot and shit?
I don't think they do.
So you can't like build a friendship with your prison guard and shit? No, we're not going to see any, what was it? Or Final Miles or Green Miles?
No.
Shawshanks?
I don't think Stalin
was like, sometimes it feels good to drink beer on the rooftop.
Get busy living. Get busy living or get busy dying.
Any questions?
Andy Dufresnovich walked Andrei Dufresne.
Andres Dufresne made it 3 feet before getting shot in the head. Shawshank Gulag.
Short film by Russian director.
Short film.
In one of the coldest places on Earth. And it's cold in the summer. It reached 100.4 degrees there. Very, very hot.
In Siberia?
In Siberia.
What happened to the Siberian tigers? Were they like, meow?
Yes, that's exactly what they were like.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
So that was another benefit of 2020?
Well, they're using that as a fact to convince a lot of different countries in the climate agreement that aren't in the Paris Climate Agreement that things are getting very, very serious and they have to do something now, that we don't have the 10 years that people thought we'd have, or the 30 years, that it's really happening now. And it's scary. And the ice caps are melting and they're releasing bacteria that's, 100,000 years old, and all sorts of terrible things are going on. But the good news is people are starting to listen based on that fun fact from 2020. No,
that's fucking scary. Is that a factual thing? Is that something science is worried about? Science!
They are. A lot of people are worried about it. And the irony is a lot of the cause of global warming is the burning of fossil fuels that at one point may have been dinosaurs. So we're using fossilized fuel dinosaurs to heat up the earth to melt the dinosaur bacteria that's going to kill us.
And meanwhile, the dinosaurs are in heaven like, ah. And then God's like, what are you doing here? Then I don't exist. And they're like, what? One of them has to go away. Who's it going to be, Andy? It's dinosaurs versus Jesus in a bloody battle in the heavens, man, with Robotron fighting on the side of them just.
St. Peter's like, I'm going over to the other side and joining the dinosaurs.
Oh, my God. Fucking suddenly, people would be way more interested in the Bible because they're like, there's some new shit going on. It's like with Star Wars. We only had like 3 Star Wars movies. Now you got the Mandalorian and shit. Right. That's what they got to do for the Bible. Mandalorian of sorts, the Centurion, where he's just like the guy that, fucking like told Christ people, get the fuck back. He's being hung. So he has to live forever. Like in that movie, the fucking Seventh Seal.
Uh-huh.
He's just roaming the galaxy and whatnot. And he finds Baby Yoda, just cross it over. Because kids love a dinosaur and half the country loves a Jesus. So you put them two together and you selling tickets like crazy. And ultimately, like, it's like, the Transformers, like nobody, it don't matter who wins or loses. We all win.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you want to make it serious. I was thinking more like gags, like, the dinosaurs are chasing Jesus and he like turns around and starts laughing. And they're like, what are you laughing at, Jesus? And he says, look down. And they're standing on water and they splash down into the water. And he's like, I'm good.
Oh, and then fucking like we do a needle drop. If I could walk on water, and he moonwalks. If I could find some way.
And the water kind of squirts out of his feet when he through the holes when he's moonwalking.
Fireworks and the jet goes over and people are like, fucking jet. No, Andy, we can't make jokes. It's Jesus. You got to treat it seriously. So this ain't a comedy.
We're just showing him not only is he
kill these dinosaurs,
powerful,
like in my fucking father's name, I strangle you, and he fucking kills a Tyrannosaurus Rex with his bare hands. And it's long. It's 2 minutes long. You have to watch Jesus beat a Tyrannosaurus Rex to death.
And then he does a move where he stands to the Tyrannosaurus Rex foot and stands back, and with his little teeny arms, he's trying to beat him, and he can't even reach.
Can't reach him.
Yeah. They're too small.
And he's just punching them over and fucking over again. Just until the fucking finally you see like the thing spasm and then fucking give out and whatnot. And then he's just like, you've just been T-Rexed.
And then Jesus walks away and does that, very meaningful walk. And the T-Rex rises up again and Jesus turns around and shoots him.
No way. Jesus turns around and walks away. And then you see one set of footprints, but then you're like, what? And the T-Rex is like, what happened? And he's like, that's when I carried you, but no more. And he fucking slam dunks him on the floor, because you have to have compassion on a human soul. Jesus, if he was fighting a person, he'd let him live, like in Daniel San in KK2 story, fucking style, Karate Kid 2. But if you're Jesus fighting a fucking cold-blooded giant lizard, that like, they're like, bitch, their big gripe is like, we were the first created by your dad, and then we were replaced by the humans. So it's like that angel thing again. That's a hot fuck. I'm telling you, you can sell toys for that and shit like that. And it's not like anybody owns Jesus, so you can make Jesus action figures all day long. You don't even have to get anybody, and nobody owns dinosaurs. We're gonna be rich.
Okay. But we got to make the movie first. I think that's
Christosaurus.
Don't set up the marketing plan before we have the movie.
Jesusaurus. Jesus Jurassic Park.
How about Nazarethic Park?
Prince of Peace versus Lizard King.
Yeah.
That's a subtitle, obviously. We still need a brand name for the franchise.
And I mean, how big are we going to make this? Is it going to be like Act 3? Suddenly they're just all ganging up on him, and just out of the sky comes the Holy Ghost. And
you better believe every good guy from the Bible, like fucking sooner or later shows up and shit. Because we're building toward this massive franchise, the crossover Bible movie.
So they'd all have powers. Like Job's power would be that he's just bad luck. Wherever he is, he's like, sorry about this, and then like they get hit with a rock or something.
Hit by a safe hits their head, and they're like,
what are these pianos doing here in heaven?
The little door opens, and you see the person inside, and they're like, Job. Good Job.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Have you been looking for all my old podcasts, the ones I started recording back in 2007? Well, guess what? I found them. They're all hiding in that Kevin Smith Club. See all the video you've never seen, including exclusive movies and live shows. You want some swag? That Kevin Smith Club is making pins and miniature versions of my old scripts. If you want to be involved in the least exclusive, most inclusive club on the net, join that Kevin Smith Club. Now's your chance to club Kevin Smith.
All right, are we done with this? That's the only good things coming out of 2020?
Well, almost done, because I do want to mention,
because in 2021 we break the rule of 3. I guess that's the idea.
We've already broken the rule of 3, and it's not the rule of 3.
It is.
The rule is it's we just we're slipping facts in. It's just a tiny moment of me saying a fact, and then you completely forget it, and then you make something up about it.
I know, that's why we can only do 3.
All right, well,
we know how this movie ends.
Your LCD screen next year may be made out of recycled fish scales. You heard me right.
Oh my God, ketchup, essentially? You're going to make my TV out of the ketchup that Heinz himself first tasted?
Well, the scales, because the scales are actually something you don't eat from the fish.
Is that right? I don't eat, look, I don't eat anything from the fucking fish. You can keep it all, you filthy fucking fish eater. Sticking your head in the ocean and just biting anything swims by like a fucking big old bear. No way. Not for this little black duck. But
and you're not happy I mentioned this fact. You can say that to me.
What do you mean you don't eat the scales? Every fish, do you take the skin off?
You scrape off the scales. And
why?
You throw
Just
them away.
Curiosity. Why do they not taste
good? Because they don't taste good. They're there to protect the fish. It's like you don't eat the fur on an animal when.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
When you,
so when you say you take the scales off, is that just the top layer, or do you take the whole skin off a fish?
You don't take the whole skin off some fish. You cook it with the skin on, but you do take the scales off, and those scales are a wasted product. And these guys figured out a way to make them into LCD monitors.
That's genius. They did that over the break. Like during 2020?
Yeah, during 2020. They were like, you guys take care of that. Science is going to focus on turning fish scales into LCD monitors.
Or they were just like, fucking bored. Me too. Like, hey, man, do you ever turn fish scales into a TV? No.
They're just sitting there smoking weed, watching TV going, you know what I hate? Throwing away fish scales.
You know what I'd love? To watch this fucking show on the back of a majestic marlin.
You picked a fish that doesn't have scales.
Marlins don't have scales?
No, marlin and tuna have just a very strong skin, but they don't have scales on them.
So you catch a tuna and you can just start eating the fuck out of it. You ain't got to scale it. You bite its head off and be like, you can watch it, bite its face and then look into its eyes as it fucking dies as you chew its own face. Is that what you mean?
It looks at you and says, life was exhausting. Finish it.
Might not be a bad way to go, man. Where you're just like, there goes my face. It's going to turn into poo. This creature's poo. Unbelievable. I thought it was so special. And I've just turned into this creature's poo. But I guess I was always going to be some creature's poo, worms, maggots, what have you. I just had no idea I would watch the thing that was going to eat me in real time and have these thoughts as I pass this one and only life. Could have thought about my loved ones, but instead preoccupied by the horror and freakish sight of a thing that ate my lower face while my upper face watched. You're right. I'm glad you did more than 3.
Sometimes you got to trust me, Kevin. Sometimes. There he is. There he is. See, without me there, Kevin doesn't have to wear his mask. So he can smoke as much as he likes.
It's just so horrifying. Eating your fucking lower face and you're just watching.
Wow. Holy shit.
How was it tastier for you to do that while I'm living? And also, presumably, well, I mean, we're taking it back to fish. So this is fish we're biting. But they can't scream. I guess if they could scream, it'd be a horrifying notion. But could you imagine if somebody was like holding you, some giant species, and like they're trying to bite into your lower face, but you're like, ah. You're trying to scream and duck being chewed, bitten off. Wow. Knowing that like your chances are like, even if you avoid it for a few seconds, it's gonna happen. Fucker is so big, he's holding you, could bite your head off. So at least he's starting with your mouth, but how horrifying that you get to watch your own demise.
All right. Well, I'm going to explain, by the way, that tunas can often be very big. Like a bluefin tuna can be over 500 pounds.
Oh, what? I thought tunas were like handheld fish.
No, they're not handheld. They can be industrial sized as well.
I'm incredibly ignorant.
Which, here we go. I'm teeing you up.
I realize I have no idea. I don't know about anything. Tuna are that big? I thought tuna were like small fish.
They're huge. They can be very big. And you know what?
They were small enough to stick in a can. Oh, it's a sardine.
No, they put tunas in cans, but they put just little parts of tuna, like 4 ounces of tuna in cans.
Some tuna's like, that's only my leg. They need a little more can than that.
That's his leg? You really don't know anything about tunas, do you?
They need a lot more can than that if they wanted to put my dick in there since it won't tuna and shit. And it's like, bro, like, say what you need to get up and swim in the morning. But we all know the piece of you is in one of them cans, which means some person, which means it's coming out as poo very soon.
Well,
you ain't no snake. You ain't gonna grow that part back. You dirty little fish. It's gone forever. And you watched it happen with your own fishy eyes.
Wow. Well, what I was going to say, I was going to get to a term that is used on fishing boats that I think you might like, but it probably you'll misinterpret it.
Time to eat their faces.
That is why, because tunas are so large, that's why on many fishing boats, they can't haul them in over the gunnels. They have to use what's called a tuna door.
A tuna door?
Tuna door.
Oh my God. Do you use the tuna door to access the Zoom room?
I thought you would go nuts with tuna door, like that was a term for something else, but I guess I was wrong.
I'm not the pig that you are, apparently. I didn't read tuna door and instantly think of a woman's nethers, Andrew.
I didn't either. I thought of you.
I thought of the porno that we all want to see, Backdoor Tuna. It's about that same tuna who's got a piece of him out in a can somewhere, is always bragging about how much fucking cans they need to just can his dick. And it's about his adventures out there and like him trying to get laid. And it really, because he's more comedic relief. It's him watching a bunch of other fish get it on and wish he can be a part of it, or jerking off, of course.
And then he decides he's going to have some anal. And so he grabs his cheek
and he's like, and then he's jerking off so hard he strips his own scales, and some fucker makes a TV out of it. He's like, watch fucking Lost on your dick. about that on your fish scales ripped from your dick. And the dude's, the fish is so indignant. He's like, that was my plan all along.
He's in such denial of everything.
But inside, or out deep inside, he's like, my fucking fish dick hurts. My fish dick hurts. My Mrs. Paul hurts. That's fish slang for their dicks. They call them.
In Britain, they call fish sticks. They call them fish fingers.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I like fish dicks better.
I know you like fish dicks. You like fish dicks.
If they ever make another Nemo, I'm pitching that joke where I'm like, let them call their dicks Mrs. Paul's.
Yeah.
So they're all like, oh, he kicked me in my Mrs. Paul's. They're like, fish don't have feet. Who's getting kicked here? I'm like, I mean, I don't know. It's a cartoon, right? That like, did you even see the other Nemo movies? I'm like,
Mr. Smith, your next note that we should call it Grinding Nemo is completely not a Disney idea.
What was it? Blinding or grinding?
Grinding
Nemo. I'm like, it's the story of ketchup. It's a story of American innovation because this little fish gets ground up into ketchup, and then old man Heinz tastes him and says, this would be better with tomato. And he, even though he wasn't British, and then he goes back to America and he creates the first bottle of ketchup. And so Nemo trilogy ends on a bottle of ketchup, and that bottle of ketchup is in the restaurant of Ratatouille. Boom!
And that's how ketchup was made. All right, well, that's the last fact I'm going to give you from that. I'm going to let you calm down a little bit.
We can let 2020 end. 2020 is over, folks, because the sigh is over. Now we head into the fi. What happens in the fi, Andy?
Well, that Iron Man glove that we talked about in the last part.
Can't stop thinking about wanting to jerk off with it. I know you.
I'm sorry to distract you with it. I know you just moved on to Grinding Nemo, but it made me think of a fun comic book slant on all of these crazy weapons that are being made. Weapons are so advanced now. There's so many weird weapons from DARPA. So I came up with a list of weapons, and you have to tell me whether this is a weapon that exists in the real world or only comes from a comic book.
Ooh. You have my interest.
Yes.
I'm prepared to learn because you're speaking to me on my level.
We are not going to be keeping score. Because
Why
I'm sure
did they do this for me when I was in Catholic school? Why was it always Jesus this and the devil that? Why didn't somebody just say, like, we're going to talk about lightsabers? And I'd be like, that's how I got smart the first time. Movie smart and shit.
So, comic book weapons or real weapons?
Okay.
And I'm not worried about the score on this because I think you're going to ace it.
So I'm going to say CB is short for comic book because I don't want to waste everybody's time. And then IRL for in real life, meaning that is the weapon. That weapon's real. So CB and IRL are the distinctions.
I'm just thinking of the time we saved by you shortening it to its initials. Thank you for that, Mr. Smith. Well, the first one is the Sonic Devastator. Okay. This is a weapon that emits ultra strong low frequency waves that can just cause people to lose their mind or go nuts or make them go deaf without hearing anything, and it works from a long distance away. Is that a comic book weapon, like a power that somebody has, or a comic book weapon, or is that something that happens in real life?
One more time with the name.
The Sonic Devastator.
There was a comic book called Sonic Disruptor, and that's a sci-fi tech. I read an article.
That was just about a guy that goes to Sonic and is like, "Hey, do you serve fish here?"
No, sir. I ain't wearing no mask because this is the home of the fucking free, and I came to get me a goddamn milkshake, and I ain't wearing a fucking mask because I'm a Sonic Disruptor. And they're like, "Sir, this is a food town. Will you please head up?" So I say, I read the article about like the cats who were over in, was it Cuba or some foreign country, and they got their fucking essentially microwave. They think
it was microwaves in that case, not a sonic weapon.
I'm going to say this is a Sonic Devastator. Sounds very comic book. I'm going to say comic book.
No, I'm sorry. That's a real weapon.
The fuck?
Yes, it's
somebody agreed to call somebody like, is that an American weapon? Somebody agreed to call it.
It's an American weapon, and it was first used in IRL, just to save a little time there, because IRL, as you all know, means in real life. So yes. IRL.
Yes.
Against the protesters in Ferguson in 2014. It was used on American citizens. The militarization of the police. They used this high-tech weapon, and it has been misdubbed the the brown ray, because during testing, it does make people wet themselves whenever they get hit with this sound, and one person pooped themselves. But generally, it does not make people poo.
So why not the golden ray?
The golden ray. I'm sorry, Ray.
If only one guy pooped and everyone peed, I can't believe the poop gets the brown ray, the distinction.
I know. Like, I think that's the trump card you play. Like, it only takes one poo.
It depends. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Thank you. All right. So one, I'm incorrect.
It doesn't matter. It's all in good fun. And I think if we're not careful, we may have learned something here.
Maybe to you, but this is my brand. If people are like, he don't know that ain't a comic book weapon, why do I listen to his other comic book thoughts? Kevin Smith does not speak for me. And my brand is forever tarnished because of some silly game that we played.
Well, if I could have done anything today, I guess that would be it. The next one is the photon shield. And that is a shield where you activate it in a handle, and it creates a shield of what is called coherent light, which is sort of like the lightsaber that was developed in 1990 or 2016. But this one forms a shield instead of being a cutting device.
No, that doesn't exist.
Where can you name the comic book that it comes from?
What is it? A photon shield?
The photon shield.
I mean, don't they use those in Star Trek? They have 4 photon torpedoes, but
they have photon torpedoes, and then they do have shields. But this comes from Captain America, where in 1998 they made the misstep of replacing his shield because people were tired of it. Again, I don't know, why would you replace the shield?
I'll tell you why in a second. But what did they replace it with?
With the photon shield. Have you not been listening?
So it was light based or something like that. So it didn't exist. He would just turn it on, and
he would turn it on, and he's got a shield, and then so I guess he can keep it in his pocket instead of on the backpack.
Why do that? Number one, fun to draw. Number two, we've been telling Captain America stories for tens of
thousands of years
at this point. Yeah,
since the dinosaurs,
100 fucking years since the dinosaurs are fighting it out with Jesus. So comic books are always act 2. You know, the origins already happened. You never want to get to the end and shit. So you're constantly, it's a soap opera. You're constantly looking for content. So that would kill a couple months, right? Like the fucking shield's gone. And then it creates sales when you're like, the shield's back, ladies and gentlemen. So you create your own problem, and then you solve your problem. That's classic comic books right there.
So, okay. Well, that's where it comes from. How about this?
I got on my comic book high horse there. I was like,
I know. I didn't.
Fuck your entertainment show. There's a real reason for this. IRL, which means in real life.